from Toronto. Hey, everybody, what's going on? How you doing? I know that I was doing lives relatively consistently, and then I just, decided to take a live break. But now I'm back with a new track, Fat and Swinging. That's what I'm doing. I'm rolling with the homies, and it's Monday night, Atlanta, Georgia. What's going on? And just shout outs to everybody. Hey, 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 hey. And I am going to answer some serious questions today. I am, and I'm just waiting for my producers and my managers and my controllers and my puppeteers to let me know. Zebulon, North Carolina. That's amazing. I'm glad you even have internet access. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Instagram. Welcome to Louisiana. Come on now. You know y'all ain't got no internets out there, but I'm so glad that you've got your megabytes and you're all ready to be a part of this wonderful episode of Beyond the Pulpit. Just letting everybody, Nightdale, get out of here. Come on now. You know you ain't got no internets over there, no Nightdale. You're looking for your pump for your water. And I'm looking to see if there's anybody joining from Flint, Michigan, working in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne, let's go. Fort Wayne. Somebody said Pastor Andy's off the chain because I'm talking to somebody in Fort Wayne. Now, you know, if you're in a place called Fort Wayne, you better be ready to fight. And so, hey, come on, let's go on, jump on here, get all excited, go tell everybody that Jesus Christ is King, tell somebody that Andy Thompson is going live beyond the pulpit. My mic sounds nice, check one. Yo, that's my man, Joseph Stein from Accra, Ghana. What's going on, Stein? How you doing, buddy? We're about to jump into this thing really quickly. Did somebody just say they're from Michigan somewhere? Hold on, let me look at that. Lansing, Michigan. Lansing don't count. That ain't no Flint. I want somebody from Flint with the water. Memphis, Tennessee. What's going on, Memphis? Serious barbecue there. Did we go live on YouTube yet? We are live on YouTube. Okay. To everybody from the YouTube world, to everybody from Instagram Live, this is Beyond the Pulpit, Andy Thompson. So excited that you're here with us tonight. I just want to let it warm up, and folk are on their way on and on their way in. And there's something in my mind I wanted to talk about really quickly before I start answering questions. And certainly Instagram Live, I'll answer some questions in Long Island, New York. Here we go. And I've got a bunch of questions, and even are we gonna do a call in? Maybe we may take a call in. We'll see how people are feeling on a Monday night. And when I was in college, and I was a Flint in the house, there they go. There's somebody from Flint. You go ahead, drink your bottle of water, and let's get into this thing. And so when I was in college, I was a psych minor for quite a bit. And there was a big debate that we used to have, which was kind of the discussion about the difference between nature versus nurture. And nature is what you get as a result of your DNA, and nurture is what you get as a result of your environment. And that was the ultimate question. And I mean, we're talking about, and I was in college, so we're talking about 25 years ago, 30 years ago, we're talking about forever ago. 30 years ago, my God, help us, Holy Ghost. But at the time, I think that the idea was that nurture was even more important than nature. There was this kind of idea that your environment mattered more than the nature that you actually came from. And there was this movie that came out back in the day called Trading Places with Eddie Murphy. And I don't know if you ever heard that movie, but Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, and the essence of the movie was that the two guys, the rich men, had a bet as to see if we took Dan Aykroyd and put him in Eddie Murphy's position, if we took Eddie Murphy, this black man, and put him in as CEO of the company, if we switched them, what would happen? One of them believed that the man by his, with all the internets we have, here I am cracking on everybody's internets.
Sorry, everyone.
And your phone is struggling with the internets.
Well, you might as well say who it is as you're calling me out.
It's my daughter's phone. My phone got cracked, so my screen. But back to my point.
Sorry.
My point is that the idea was that, and even I remember when I was in college, we read, well, we didn't read it, but Edgar Rice Burroughs, Tarzan, the ape man. It's kind of the idea that that's what you get for picking on Zebulun. I hear you. That that the idea was that, oh my gosh, here's this little boy, and he's born in Africa, born there, and somehow becomes king of the jungle as a result of his nature, not his nurture. And I think that now I think we're at a point now in which we're understanding that it's a combination of both. It is definitely your nurture, your environment is a huge factor, but just as much, it's the seed that you come from. In the same way, I think that people ask me often about success. I'm reading a lot of articles about success and how do people find success, and are people successful just as a result of gifting, or are they successful as a result of the environment that they're in? And I really, much like the nature nurture debate, I do think that it is a serious combination of both. I do think that it's absolutely possible to rise from loser people and become a winner. It's absolutely possible for that to take place. It's absolutely possible for you to come from people that didn't have money and didn't have anything and was lacking in education, and for you to decide, yeah, but you know what, not me. I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to be successful and break the mold of whatever the pattern of my entire family has been. That's something I'm going to do. Absolutely, it's possible for you to do that. At the same time, the nurture of your environment or the opportunities that you're given, the person that has more is given. And so, as great as it is to believe in nature, as great as it is to believe in talent, as great as it is to believe in gifting, I think one of the mistakes that we make is that we underestimate the value of the head start. We underestimate the value of standing on someone else's shoulders. We underestimate the value of having people in your corner that want to back you. We underestimate the value of having good mentors and having people that believe in you and good support. We underestimate the value of having a good team around you. All of those things are significant factors. We underestimate the value of a relationship with your father. We underestimate the value of a relationship with a father, even if he's not your father. Whenever I listen to Shaquille O'Neal talk, it's always like who he's talking about is his stepfather. His stepfather made him. And so even though that man wasn't his father, his stepfather played a significant role. And when you look at who Shaquille O'Neal is post-basketball, it is definitely impacted by who his father, who he calls his father, his stepfather, made him to be. And so, sure, being born and then ended up being 7'3" and quick and skilled with either hand, that's a gift, that's a talent, but it comes without repentance. But there's a work ethic that goes along with that, sure. And that's a part of what made him successful. But when we look at him beyond basketball, the things that were placed in him by the people around him definitely are a factor in who he was when it comes to success. And I think that when we talk about success, we have a tendency to talk about it in a vacuum, not acknowledging that your community plays a significant role in your ability to be successful. Even when it comes to defining who you are or what it means to even have success or what it means to even be a not just alive, but someone that really does contribute to culture and society. That definition is based on who made that definition for you. What does it mean to win? If you're the only one that comes up with that goal, then I don't even know if you really will win unless somebody says what winning is to you, and who defined that for you, and who defined how you would get there. That's a significant factor with being successful. And I think that unfortunately, most of the young people that are talking about success are talking about success based on what they see in what this seems like as success, versus having a generational perspective of what it meant to be successful in life. And, my daughter's going to be asking me questions tonight. And when my daughter and I are having conversations about her career and success and in my sons, I'm not allowing them to be the only people that define what success is. I'm like, sure, That you may think, oh my God, I got 1 million followers. That's success. But what does it profit you to have 1 million followers and you can't sleep at night? What does it profit you to have $1 million in the bank and you need a doctor to put you to sleep, or you have no one that you care about, or you have no peace inside, or have no real feeling of self? And so, unfortunately, most of the people that are talking about success are talking about how to get to a success that they have defined as success. And that's why it's so hard to attain it, because they set what it meant to be successful. So since they set what success meant, now it's almost hard to ask how to get successful, because success has become so ambiguous, and so controlled by media, or so controlled by the opinion of this particular generation. And so I think the beginning of success is actually allowing ourselves to be impacted by people who are successful, not just who we see in a picture, but for us to really say, wow, now that person is winning in that particular world, and to be able to follow that particular person. I was talking to one of the guys who, is travels with me some, and he was a football player. And we were talking about the fact that the way to be successful as a football player is you take your talent, your skill, your ability, your gifting, and then you're drafted in the NFL. The best thing you can ever do is get on a team with some good, serious veterans that have had some good, serious careers, because they're gonna immediately define success for you and define what it means to be successful and how to get there. Beyond just you being quick, beyond you just being strong, beyond you being fast, what are the habits that lead to success? And those habits are the factor. They are the key, big time deciding factor in whether or not you're successful. I was reading an article today. Maybe I saw a video on TikTok or something that was saying, if you take a plane that's about to leave New York and it's traveling to LA, okay? If you shift that plane 3 inches in New York, okay? And if it leaves New York and flies straight along that same trajectory and without making any adjustments, it will land in Tijuana, Mexico. Just 3 inches from the beginning can significantly impact where you end up at the end. And I think that who sets you in the beginning, those first 6, 7 years of your life, is when your personality is set. Who poured into you, who made you, who defined what it meant for behavior to you. Those things are so important to who you end up being, that we can't talk about success without talking about how you were parented and how you were taught and who raised you. And those are all factors. And it's like, we're just, all of a sudden somebody just wakes up at 17 and decides, oh, I want to be successful. And I'm not saying you can't, but you may have to sit down with somebody and go all the way back and look at things that you were taught when you were 6. And you may have to recalibrate from off of that and realize at 6 years old, somebody pointed you to Tijuana. And if you're now going to get to LA, you're going to have to make an adjustment in your flight plan for you to actually get to success. So anyway,
that's awesome.
That's my first little rant for the night. You ready to jump into this thing? You got some questions for me? I mean, we got some folk on, and so I'm ready to get down to it.
Yeah. So
I'm up tonight.
You're
I took a nap. I'm popping.
You're like all the pizzazz, all the energy.
Woo! My juice.
You're loving it. I like how you were talking about being raised and how you're being raised. And there was a question that we got actually kind of on the other end of it, where I call her the millennial mom. She says that she's a young mom struggling with her 4-year-old, and she tries her best to gently reprimand him, but nothing she does seems to work. Any tips on discipline tactics? Because she's starting to be concerned about raising him wrong, but wants to still have a good relationship as he gets older. So
it's really great that you asked me this question. I was watching a TikTok earlier today, and I almost wanted to what's that thing where you kind of connect with it or
stitch
with it?
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to stitch with it so badly, but
next time.
I knew I was doing this tonight, and I was just like, oh, maybe I could talk about it tonight, because I think there's, again, right, there's a goal that parents have, and it's seen from this particular woman that was talking, that a part of her end goal was getting to a place with your child where you have a really great relationship with them later on. And I think that this is a thought and a care that, to me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound overly judgmental, but it is so impacted by women being asked to raise children all by themselves. It's why the father's involvement, whether you're together or not, is so important, because it's like, I don't know if the goal of my parents was for us to have an amazing relationship when I was an adult.
Right.
I don't know if that was their goal. I think it was something that maybe they hoped it would happen. I don't know. I think the main thing that they were thinking about is, do we know how to behave? Do we know how to act right? Can we get to school and sit still? Can we do what we're called, whether you like them or not, whether or not.
Can you be an actual, full grown human in society? Can you be,
will you be able to contribute? Can you
yeah.
fit within the culture? I don't necessarily know if my parents or my grandparents were trying to raise people to be their friends later on. You know, I think that there's a concept right now around parenting that has to do with acknowledging their feelings. And so let me answer the question really quickly. I mean, first of all, infancy and child development was, my concentration when it came to psychology. And you need to understand that a child is not even fully developed in their personality until they're 6 or 7 years old. So you're talking about somebody 4, and trying to acknowledge the feelings of somebody 4 is like, you need to understand that memories from when you're 4 years old, I wouldn't even take a child to Disney World who wasn't at least 7 years old, because there's the things that you really remember from when you were 4 are very traumatic things. And you even will need to meet with a psychiatrist or to really dig down into stuff that happened before 6 years old. And so it's like, we're trying to acknowledge the feelings of somebody who hasn't quite navigated what feelings really are about. And they still haven't even really figured out. And even beyond 7, I mean, they're even saying now that your brain, the male brain, isn't even fully developed until you're 27 years old. So you got somebody 4 years old, and you're trying to allow your behavior with them to be ruled by the acknowledgement of their feelings, but their feelings are extremely immature, and their feelings are still being shaped by you defining what their feelings are about. You have to make somebody 4 feel right about right things. Okay? Right now, if you were raised properly, then you feel right about brushing your teeth. You feel right about eating vegetables. You feel right about going to bed. You feel right about doing your work. You feel right about doing things that you don't necessarily feel like doing. I don't know if we can always acknowledge the feelings of somebody 4 years old, but it's almost like that's how the parenting is being shaped in this way. And it's new thought. And I think that we need to be careful about too much new thought that hasn't been proven with real results. So here's my acid test. This is kind of what I've said to people when it comes to parenting. I've said that ignorance requires instruction, rebellion requires discipline. Ignorance needs instruction, rebellion needs discipline. It is wrong to discipline ignorance, and it's wrong to instruct rebellion. So if I say, come here, and I can tell that you know what I mean, okay? If I say, go clean your room, this woman was kind of like, oh, go clean your room. And then if you come by and the room's not being cleaned or straightened up, or they're not picking their toys up, now it's almost like, well, let's have a conversation in which I now have some kind of instruction thing in which I'm going to acknowledge your feelings. And the truth of the matter is that you're just dealing with rebellion in that particular point. It's absolutely possible for your child's will. Your child's will gets turned on before they're even fully formed in their cerebral cortex. Their will is turned on early. So they're just a bundle of knees. They're a bundle of yell. Babies start bucking on you when they're 6 months old and 7 months old. Their will starts to come out. While you're trying to change them, they're halfway fighting you. And you're like, they don't have the cerebral ability to know that they need to be changed, and they need to sit still, and they need to keep. So it's like their will is already on, and you're battling against their will to stay in their own bed, their will to sleep all night. You know better than them that they need to sleep. I think the challenge for most people is that they start this process too late. Now, I know someone asked me this question who's got somebody that's almost 4. You got to get on it when they're 4, but it really does start for everybody that's listening and planning on having a baby. This thing starts at 6 months old. When they're 6 months old, that's when you have to start being aware of their will and understanding that it's not their will, but it's your will. Right now, you're dealing with somebody 4, you're struggling with their will. You're not dealing with whether or not they know what you mean or not. You're not dealing with their ignorance. That's not that 4-year-old don't know what you're saying. It's that 4-year-old has a will, and that 4-year-old has decided that they want to do what they want to do, and they don't want to do what you want them to do. And so now you're being told to instruct their rebellion, and unfortunately, rebellion can't be instructed. It's got to be disciplined. Yeah. And just as it's wrong to discipline ignorance, sure, they're 4, they're running, they're playing, they're discovering, they're trying to figure stuff out. But if this is the 50th time you said, don't leave me when you're with me, and they want to run off, what you're dealing with is rebellion. Now, for everyone that wants to say, well, we're going to do it new and you can't. Well, the problem with that is you're going to teach your child a very wrong lesson, because the truth of the matter is that if you are rebellious enough, you will be disciplined. Yep. That's a fact. It's a fact. If you are driving down the road and a cop flashes their lights behind you, if you do not pull over, they will discipline you. They're not waiting for you to feel it. They don't care about. Yeah. They really don't even care. They're like, you know what these flashing lights mean. Now, you could say, I don't know what it meant, but you can't get your license if you didn't. No. You know what I meant. So if you do not teach your child a certain amount of discipline, they won't be able to function with a group. And this is the issue. It is the ultimate issue that we're dealing with. It's kind of the freedom and rights of the individual versus the disciplined requirements to function within normal society. And if we don't discipline our children, then we will not teach them how to function in the world. Let me tell you why you're having such a hard time with your child and disciplining. It's because you don't realize that it is absolutely possible to be schizophrenic with your child.
I can't wait for this.
It is absolutely possible. Understand, if you're a mom, if you're a dad too, but definitely if you're a mom, you can have 2 personalities and your child will be absolutely okay with it. Yeah. So you can have a personality that is a drill sergeant, that is like, what did I say? Sit down. Don't make me tell you again. And 2 minutes later be like, want some cherries? It is absolutely possible for you to be like, oh, I love you. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Okay, time to go to bed. All right, good night. I said go to bed. It is absolutely possible for you to grow up with a mom that you're like, oh, my mother loved me and she fed me and she took care of me and she cared for me, but she was also just a little bit crazy. Like
You had some fear there.
I loved my mom, but was totally terrified in the same. And if you're good and you're healthy and you're normal and you're mature, then you won't hold your child. So my mother could spank me. And then afterwards, when I came in, she'd be like, hey, you ready to eat? Yeah. And when I came in, I was just like, oh, wow, okay, she's over it. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm ready to eat. Okay, what do you want? You want some chicken? You want some? And she just would feed me, and you want dessert? Yeah, I want dessert. And she'd give me ice cream, and okay, good night. It was over. Right. So I learned that she has a line that, oh my gosh, she's amazing. She's wonderful. She's great. She is loves me, cares for me, watches out for me, protects me. But when she says it, she means it. And that has to come from within you. The hardest thing about this discussion is if you gave me your child, I'd break that child in about 2 weeks. It'd take me about 2 weeks. Because children are like wild animals. Okay?
Sorry.
They sense it. Do you know how wild animals sense fear?
Yeah, they do. It's true.
You ever see the folks that are messing around with the orcas and the whales and all that stuff? It's like they're not afraid. The orcas know they're not afraid. They can smell. Every now and then they kill one. But they can tell that they're not scared. And folks just walking around with the lion there. And the lion's like, oh, because they can sense the fear or not. In the same way, children can sense whether or not you're conflicted on the inside about somebody said, where do I drop them off?
Not here.
Whole new business. Oh, yeah, give me 2 weeks. I'd love to. Listen, I'd have a kids boot camp. Are you kidding?
You would get a kick out of that.
Are you nuts? The problem is that it wouldn't work because they would be around me for 2 weeks and they would be like, oh, no, I can't play with him.
Yep.
But with you, because you're conflicted on the inside with this struggle. You are dealing with guilt as a mom. You're probably working. You're very, very busy. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's just, I don't want to spend all of my time fussing. Listen, your job as a mother is to spend all of your time fussing until you don't have to spend all of your time fussing. That's your job. The job of being a mom is to spend all of your time fussing. That's the job. If your child is 4, and they want to be around you all the time, it's either they're an only child, that's very possible, or number 2, you just don't fuss enough. If you fuss enough, your 7-year-old child will be like, oh my gosh, I gotta get away from this lady because, 1 minute she's like, oh, how you doing? What's that on your shoe? What's that? Your shoes are on the wrong feet. Sit down. Switch them shoes. Tie your laces. Are you chewing gum? Don't chew that gum in my house. It was just like, I got to get out of because she wasn't trying to be my friend. She was trying to make sure that I was who I was supposed to be. But you're conflicted with it on the inside because you're listening to a bunch of people who ain't raised no babies, who don't have teenagers, who don't have adults that are successful. And you're letting them tell you that you can't be mean to your child and your child can't be scared of you. And they are wrong. The country was built by people who were afraid of their parents. And maybe they didn't have best friend relationships with their parents. It's okay. You got time to fix it later. Yeah. You can fix it. I didn't like my mother that much when I was 16, but I love my mother now. We're great. You have time to fix it. But my mother made me this monster that I am. And so just know your job is to shape, your job is to fashion, your job is to, you are drill sergeant and flight attendant. You're both. And your job is to scoot down and be like, okay, we're going to tie our seat. Okay, let's put our seatbelt on, fasten your seatbelt. Here's your juice. But it's also push your seat back. We about to land. Tray tables in the upright lock position. Let's go. Give me your cups. We need you to put your seatbelt on. Thank you very much. It's not about how you feel. And once you move that child to it's not their will, but your will be done, you're well on your way. And if you don't do that, you're setting them up for failure with their boss. You're setting them up for failure with their supervisor. You're setting them up for failure with their coach. You're setting them up for failure with their teacher. You're setting them up for failure with anybody bigger and stronger than them. You're setting them up for failure. The world's not a soft, nice, comfortable place in which everybody's going to respect your feelings. It's just not the case. We can't remove all the concrete from every child. We got to let them play on some concrete sometimes. Everything's not grass, and you have to learn how to function in a world, and that's your job as their mother. And you need to stop being conflicted about it on the inside, and you need to get over it. The real struggle is on the inside of yourself. And when you turn to that kid and say, you better go to bed, they know that if they're like, mama, but mommy, they know you're going to break. They feel it from the minute they're around you. They can smell it on you. And you have to make up in your mind that you mean business, that you're not there to be their friend. You're there to make them a healthy, functional person. I know it took a long time answering that question, but anyway.
No worries. No, it was good.
Good question, though.
Yeah, sweet. So I have, this question is very interesting, and I'm like, I can't wait to hear how you're going to respond to this. So this young woman says, I was recently dating my, quote, perfect guy, but he expressed early on that he has some dating anxiety. Due to him being divorced, having 2 kids, his ex-wife cheating on him and abusing him at only the age of 26. But I decided to work through it with him, and it was going well, but then 2 months later, he just randomly broke up with me out of the blue. I'm very confused because he says it's because I'm not the right one for him. But I really feel like God has put him on my heart, and I think I need to have another conversation with him to get clarity and maybe salvage things, but I don't know what to do.
Okay, that's such a thick, loaded question. There's so much in there.
Oh my gosh, as I know. Yeah.
First of all, I think that, one of the most challenging things for women is, when you're, and it's interesting because you and I talk about this quite a bit. Mm-hmm. It's like you fail to realize that it's a numbers game in a certain way. It's like you're so looking for the one that you haven't really dated enough to know this is the one. You're deep. You hear somebody, this guy's story is compelling. Women can be healers to a certain extent and fixers, and guys are looking perfection. I've said that before, that guys marry because you're perfect, because they like exactly what you are right now. Women can be a little bit deeper to a certain extent, in which if there's a little bit of a project, there's almost like a goal. And even some of the videos I've seen or some of the stuff that I've read that talks about how, women have the fantasy of women as vampires and pirates and monsters and Beauty and the Beast. It's like, you're a monster, but for me, you're going to end up being a prince. But I think that, number one, God laying them on your heart and all of that there's no God laying them on your heart. That's not what it's about. There's none of that. It's not, God ain't laid nobody on your heart. God don't lay nobody on nobody's heart necessarily like that. I know that there was a bunch of faulty teaching about God tells people who to be with.
Yeah, right. That's your wife.
That's not true. None of that's valid. There's not even anything in the Bible about that. It's just not a valid thing. And so, what's happened is that you're a human feeling person and you developed a connection with someone, and it takes some time for you to break that connection. And if a dude has said to you, hey, you know what? I'm broken. If a guy said to me, I'm broken, and if you are interested in a long relationship with someone and he says to you, I'm broken, then your response to him needs to be like, okay, well, go get fixed. Like, go get healed. Go talk to a therapist. Go talk to your parents. dig down and figure out what's wrong with you, figure out what happened. How were you abused by a woman? How were you cheated on by a woman? What exactly is going on with you? Why did you pick someone that would do that to you? Why did you stay in that? Clearly, bro, you've got some issues if you're being abused by a woman. Sorry, I hate to be that way. And I'm not talking about just physical abuse. I mean, any kind of abuse, because men have the power of choice. Women have the power of change. And so, guys, you have choices. And so why would you stay in an abuse situation? Sounds a little bit manipulative to me, but I can't say that. But if you're a guy, then if a man says to you, hey, guess what? I've been abused, I've been hurt, I've been abandoned, I've been cheated on, it sounds like he's setting you up for why he can't be with you in the long term. And what you need to do is say, well, bruh, I'm looking for something long term. Now, if you're not, let's say that you're not, you're like, well, hey, I'm out here trying to be the best lawyer I can be, to be the best CEO I can be the best nurse I can be the best whatever I can be. And I don't know if I'm even ready for a full-time dude, because that's a lot of work, because a dude's a lot of work. And then, hey, dating a dude who may say that may not be a bad thing. But if you're looking for a long-term commitment, then you need to say to this dude, well, hey, tell you what, go get fixed. Okay? You can't really fix a guy. You can't. It's not something you can do, right? You don't want to fix a guy. Guys need to be fixed by guys. Okay? Guys need to be fixed by guys. Or their mamas, or, maybe. But your job is not to fix him. You can pour into your son, but you do too much pouring into and mentoring and fixing your man, you're going to end up being his mother, and he won't want to sleep with you. So, he needs to go get healed, go get set, go get fixed, okay? Find his peer group, get down to the bottom, sit down, talk to his therapist, to his counselor, get down to the bottom of what's going on with him, and then he can say, and then you can come back to me and holler at me if you want to. But your mistake was to get involved in something that, was a mess from the begin with. And we all make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And you had to learn from that. And but if, God's laid them on your heart, God's not laying them on your heart. You just have an attachment to him because you're an emotional person. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're a woman. You're supposed to have an emotional attachment. One of the things that's really dangerous is that we don't expect women to have emotional attachments anymore. Like, women are being pressured to be like men. Men are the ones who are able to have physical interactions without emotional attachment. Men are the ones who are able to do that. Women are not supposed to be able to have a bunch of physical interactions without any emotional attachment. That's dangerous. And even guys, if you have too much physical interaction without any emotional connection, you can break your intimacy, which is not a word, but you can break your intimacy machine, and you will find yourself unable to have real intimacy with anyone, because all you do is see women as just physical conquests. But definitely, unequivocally for women, one of the worst things that's happening today is that the reevaluation of gender roles is pressuring women to be something that they're not. And I could talk about this all day, but it's kind of like the feministic movement. I understand the reason for it, because in the battle, I've said it so many times, but I'll say it again, in the battle for equality, women decided to say that sameness and equality are the same thing. The way to be equal is to say that we're the same. And so now women are saying, hey, you can do it, so can I. Anything a man can do, I can do. If a man can be a fireman, I can be a fireman. If a man can be a soldier, I can be a soldier. If a man can be CEO, I can be CEO. Got you. I hear you. There's two problems with it. Number one, sameness is not the key to equality. That fairness is the key to equality, not sameness. That's number one. Number two, you're creating a world that isn't real, because there are things that women can do that men can't do. There's things that women can do that men can't do. And it's a part of the birth of even the argument and discussion today around what's a woman and who's a woman and what makes a woman and why now they're after your title. They're after the title woman. It's birthing person now. And a part of the reason why that is because women have so fought to say that they could do anything that men can do. Now men want to say, well, we can do anything that women can do, but you can't. And there's a bunch of things that women can do that men can't do. And one of those things is connect emotionally. Woo! That's a superpower that women have, that men strive to have that. But we don't connect emotionally the way that women connect emotionally, okay? Women can do things men can't do. I mean, I'm sorry, but we still have yet to figure out how to gestate life. We haven't gotten to that place in our technology. We don't even have the technology to keep a child alive that's born pre-20 weeks. If a child is premature, born at 20 weeks, the chances of that child dying is extremely high. Even with all our technology, we can send signals around the world. We can send somebody to the moon. We have yet to figure out how to gestate life. We can't do it without a woman. It's how amazingly complex and unique a woman's body is. It is so unique. I sat there and marveled at it. Anytime I've seen a woman pregnant, I'm just like, it's a marvel of life. It's the mystery of life. It's the miracle of life. The ability to adapt and change and to gestate a child. We don't have that technology. We don't have that ability. It's something men can't do. And so the idea of, oh, well, we're going to be equal by being the same creates a false narrative in which you start to battle for the things that make you unique. And I think one of the things that makes women unique is that women are able to connect emotionally at a level that men are not. And you're gonna constantly be disappointed if you expect a man to be able to connect emotionally at the level that you can connect emotionally. It's not something men can do. They're not able to do it. And the stats prove it. It's just a fact. So I think women have to, and I know it's hard because, like people like you, love to watch The Bachelor and love to watch these shows, right? In which some dude is he's sitting there with a woman and he's just tearing up and he's just like, Heather, when I breathe, the air smells like honey. And your eyes look like stars in the sky. And I'm sitting there thinking, these writers have wrote a speech for this dude. Oh my
God, there's not scripted.
No, it is absolutely scripted because most dudes aren't that in touch with their inner woman. It's just not the case. Yeah. I can write some poems. I tell dudes all the time, go to the card shop, find a blank card, then find a card that has a poem in it and plagiarize the poem. Take the poem and write it on a blank card, give it to your girl. She will love you for days because most dudes aren't deep enough or connected enough to write a poem and to be effluvious with it's just not something. Writers working overtime. Folks on the Instagram Live is agreeing with me. So what I'm saying to you is that, and I think I said this in season 1, episode 1, that it's like we want men to be sensitive enough, okay, to connect a fake boob to their body and, bond with a baby. You're going to take your shirt off and you're going to lay this baby on your hairy chest to have a bond. We want a guy to be skin to skin with a baby and still whoop somebody's behind. Sorry, we want a dude to be able to be that sensitive and then roll on you and be like, hey baby, hey, I got to get next to you, without understanding that you've so feminized that dude that he's a little bit trying to see, do you like him? And so just know that the stones that it takes to walk up to some chick cold is the same stones that can make you a little bit rude. And if we drive out all the rudeness, I get it. We're tired of men and their rudeness. But just understand, the rude dude is the dude who's going to be upset if somebody bumps into you.
Period.
Now you're sitting there saying, hey, you just let him bump into me. Hey, you didn't say nothing. And he's respecting that dude's space. But I mean, that guy he was walking, and you need to be careful where you go. We have to respect everybody's walking into a space. Somebody like me is going to be like, bruh, watch where you're going.
Yep.
That could escalate. But we're going to drive that out of men, because we don't want men to be that way. Although those are the men that are going to fight for us. Those are the men that are going to protect the country. Those are the men who settled the country. It wasn't Jamba Juice workers. It was people who were hardened, no joke, serious, killed animals, men are why we're even alive. But we want everybody to be too sensitive to skin a rabbit. And that's just not how, without somebody you won't have bacon. You won't have burgers. Do you know who killed that cow? A man cut that throat and blood everywhere and skinned that rabbit. And that's how you have rabbit meat. And you can't be like, but the bunnies. Yeah, the bunnies died so we might live. And so what I'm saying is we have to be very, very careful about all of this.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got there.
I was about to say, how did we get here? I'm not sure.
Well.
But is the answer, is the Jamba Juice, rabbits, I'm sorry, rabbits.
Sure.
But your answer is she should not be having this conversation with this guy.
No, I was outside and I saw bunnies hopping around, and I thought to myself, I should pick up a rock and throw it at that bunny.
What? Oh my gosh, don't say things. What?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I bet you I could kill that rabbit with a rock. I thought that. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be great. Kill the rabbit, I was like, oh, I could skin it. I could have rabbit. I could have rabbit stew. I was thinking, oh my God, that would be amazing. It's been a long time since I had rabbit. Yeah. And I was on the phone with somebody, some goddaughter or some girl who was like, oh my God, you're going to, really? Are you about to kill this? Please, Pop, let the rabbit go.
Again, I don't know how we're getting here, but let's just move on.
Peter, folks,
the answer to this, girls, do not talk to this guy.
No,
again.
You can't call that.
Don't call that guy. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Stubbsy, I think that's what his name is on Instagram, wants to ask a question regarding your intro for this episode today. And he asks, do you think success is primarily defined by discipline, process/steps, or is it a combination of both?
I think that it's a combination of both. I mean, I think that it don't matter how many steps you want to take. If you don't have the skill and the quickness and the jumping and the speed to play in the NBA, I mean, you can be as hardworking as you want to. I think it's a combination of gifting and discipline is a part of what it takes to actually get to success. I think that if you think it's just talent and just ability, you're going to be disappointed. But if you think it's just discipline, you're going to be disappointed. There is something to say about a certain amount of gifting and a certain amount of talent, certain amount of opportunities, certain amount of the right team around you. Both of those things are a factor. We've seen plenty of people that had all the talent in the world and just didn't have the skills, just didn't have the work ethic to actually be successful. And we can look at those people and be like, wow, it's just a shame because they had the talent, they had this, but they weren't hardworking enough. Right. They weren't disciplined enough. They weren't consistent enough, you know? So we have to be careful not to just poo-poo somebody's success because we don't know the work that it required for them to get to that place. I often talk about Steph Curry when I talk about this right here because, he's the greatest shooter in the world. He's the greatest shooter to ever live. There's definitely a certain amount of just touch and talent that goes into that. But people don't know how much Steph Curry can squat. People don't know Steph Curry's story about how his ankles couldn't handle it, and he spent a summer relearning how to move and moved all of his movement from his ankles to his hips because his hips were stronger enough to take the cutting. His career was in jeopardy over his ankles. They just couldn't stand. Even now, if you look down at the bottom of him, you'll see this stuff all around his shoes. And so people take for granted the work that even if you look at his body when he was 2 years into the league and look at him now, he's a whole totally different kind of a squat, muscular person, and that's discipline and that's work. And there are people who don't have the work ethic to be successful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's absolutely possible to have tons of desire and tons of work ethic and just not necessarily have the goods to get to a certain level. And I think everybody has to learn how to be satisfied with the level that their skill or talent can bring them and not necessarily compare themselves to other people. And I mean, I have to do that.
Right.
I have to do that. You know, there's a guy who, in my estimation, is the greatest communicator of all time is alive right now.
Who?
Bishop, listen, T.D. Jakes
Period.
is the greatest. He is the GOAT.
Yeah, he is.
He is the greatest pulpit communicator of all time, because not only can he absolutely inspire you, but he can totally, completely instruct you.
Yeah.
And if you're a Christian, you're into speakers, or if you're no, everybody watching this isn't a Christian, but if you are, right now, you do yourself a favor and find yourself in a room with him. It's like when Michael Jordan was playing. It's like Steph Curry playing. It's like when Tiger was. You know what? Don't miss this opportunity to go see Michael Jordan play. You are living in a time in which the greatest communicator of all time is still in his prime and still walking around on stages. And you owe yourself, spend the $1,000, go somewhere, get in a room and just sit there and pay attention and be impacted for an hour and a half, 2 hours by the greatest communicator of all time. I mean, when I go to his stuff and when I sit there and listen to him, I just have to be like, yeah, that's just it's a whole nother level. It's a whole nother level. And I think that, you know, you can work hard and you have to rise to the level of which you can rise, and you put all your work in. Some people are afraid to put all of their work in. Some people are very hard. It's very difficult for them to go all in with their effort, because they're afraid if they go all in and they don't succeed, then they're going to be disappointed at what level they reached. They almost would rather throw off on the fact of, well, I didn't try all that hard.
Yep.
You know, I could say, well, I'm fit. Clearly, I'm never going to be T.D. Jakes. I could say that. Well, so I'm not going to give it all I got. I'm not going to preach it. I'm not going to study as hard as I can. I'm not going to do everything. I have to be willing to give it everything I have, give all of my effort, all of my heart, try as best I can, and be satisfied with the level at which my talent brings me and my gifts brings me. And I can't compare myself to anyone else. I have to compare myself to how my gifts are and what I am doing and who I am, and be satisfied with the fact that I reached my level. Yeah. And that's based on my talent, and it's based on my discipline. The combination of both together will make me successful.
No, that's fire. I needed to hear that. That was so good. So let's take a little pause from the questions being asked, and I actually have something that happened in a current event that happened recently that I'd love your perspective on.
Okay.
So we're all aware of the level of gun violence in America right now, and yesterday evening, there was another mass shooting at a grocery store in Oregon, with a suspect using literally an AR-15 rifle, not a handgun, like a rifle. And so, you know, we know you're a hunter, we know you own guns. So what do you think needs to be done about this just issue of gun violence in America right now? What's your perspective on that?
I mean, I think that, first of all, I think there's a ditch on either side of the road. There always is. I'm always trying to talk about finding the balance and trying to get back on the road. And I think that most accidents are caused by overcorrection in one way or the other. And so I think that we have a tendency to want to be all the way liberal or all the way to the far right without really finding the balance of this issue. So let me just try to, I see it from both sides because I want to find the balance. I know that we love to talk about the constitutional right to bear arms, and I completely understand that. I do have weapons. I don't know if the founding fathers intended for someone to have the ability to shoot 50 people in 3 minutes. I don't know. In their right to bear arms, this wasn't possible at the time. And so I think that we have to, and I find this in my role as a communicator. Of course, this is beyond the pulpit, but I find in my role as a communicator of the gospel in my main life, that my job is to find the eternal truth in the passage, and not just the current generational cultural expression of that truth. I'm looking at an ancient text. We have a tendency to filter that ancient text through our current cultural generational lens, and now we want to apply that. And I think we have to be bigger than that. In the same way, I think we can look at the Constitution as an ancient text, and now we have to be able to reevaluate that ancient text through the lens of our technological advance, okay? And so I definitely think there's something to be said for that, and I think people need to be realistic and honest about that kind of conversation. At the same time, we have a mental illness issue in the country right now.
Yeah.
We just do. And I think that we've got to do more to address the issue of mental illness in this country. It's got to be something that we think about seriously, and not just think about in terms of profit. Or we have a tendency in America to value everything based on money. And so there's more to life than money, and there's more to life than just measuring something by money, whether or not it's affordable or what it costs. I don't know how many school shootings we have to have before. And quite honestly, I'm sorry, but the school shootings in particular, I think there's a pretty easy answer to that. And it's not necessarily that you got to take everybody's guns away. That's not it. I mean, you could take veterans. You could take. There's all kinds of guys that have done Army. It doesn't take a whole lot to put armed people at schools.
Right.
It just doesn't take that much. Just doesn't. Doesn't. You got a principal at the school, you got a dean at the school, you got teachers at the school, you got the janitor at the school, you got the gym guy at the school. Why can't you have the two guys that are there who are retired Army veterans whose job it is to guard this school? How you doing, Mr. Doug? Hey, how y'all doing? He's sitting right there with his AR. He's right there with his weapon. He's right there ready.
Oh no!
It's not that difficult of an answer. I'm going, well, and then somebody's gonna be like, well, kids will see guns. Yep, kids will see guns. They sure will. And a 6-year-old will go to school and feel safe.
Right.
And say, thank you, Mr. Doug. Because what would I rather? Him see Mr. Doug, Sergeant Bob, is there to protect me, versus somebody breaking in and shooting up a school. It's very, very easy. It's an easy deterrent. And we won't have to deal with little 4-year-old kids and little 4th graders getting shot. It's just not something that's going to happen. But I do think that we have a serious mental health issue in this country, and we're not addressing it. When I was a kid growing up, crazy people weren't just allowed to just walk the streets. just wasn't something that was allowable.
Right.
Just wasn't. Somebody was crazy, then they were put somewhere.
Yeah.
They were handled. They were dealt with. We've got to figure it out. We got to medicate. We got to get down to the bottom of what's going on with mental illness with people. But I also think that there's a bigger issue that has to do with identity, and it has to do with discipline. It has to do with Langston Hughes. What happens to a dream deferred? And I think that there are things that we are telling people that aren't true. And it creates within them a dream that sags like a heavy load or explodes.
Wow.
So if from 4, someone was telling you, you are special, you're the only one like you. There's no another in the whole wide world that could do the things that you, or you are special, special, everyone is special, everyone in his or her own way.
Sesame Street?
Barney.
Oh, dang.
Special, right?
I was like, how do I know this?
What
Barney.
happens when you find out that you're not that special?
I hear you. I'm following you.
That you don't have something that only you can do that other people can't do. Because you're working at Burger King. There's a whole lot of people that can flip burgers, and no one's coming to you and saying, oh my God, the way you work fries. My God. Woo! I have never seen anyone stack shoes at Foot Locker like you. Barney was right. You really are special. You know, you end up finding out that you're not that special. And I have to come to grips with the reality that I'm not that special. And no matter how special I think I am, I end up having to come to grips with somebody who's more special than me. So when we tell somebody they're unique, and tell somebody there's nobody like them, and we tell somebody that they're super special, and then they wake up to the reality that maybe they're not that special, now they got to figure out something to do to be special. Because they were told that they were special, and they have to be special. Oh my God, I'm not special. How can I be special? I'm going to do something to be noticed.
Right.
I'm going to do something to stand out. I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to do something different because I'm starting to look like I'm one of the masses. And we have to do a better job. Again, it's a ditch on either side of the road, right? We go from you're a part of the masses, you're a part of a culture, you're a part of a family. No one cares about your feelings. No one cares about your identity. Nobody cares about what you care about. You're in this, we go from that, and there's dangers to that, to this whole other extreme of every individual person's individual feelings matter. And the rights and feelings of the individual have got to be balanced over the greater good of society. It's not either one, it's both. We have to find a society and an empirical mindset in which we do understand what it takes for us to be united as a country. For us to be united as a country, there've got to be some norms that we say are apropos. For us to be humans, for us to have families, for us to survive, we have to be able to define, well, what is a man? Well, what is a woman? Well, what is a marriage? Well, what is a business? Well, what is winning? Without totally stepping on the rights of every individual to say, well, winning to me is sitting in the bed and eating Cheerios. That's what it means to me. And how dare you stand against my rights as an individual to eat Cheerios every day? That's how I win. There's nothing like my Honey Nut Cheerios. That's how I win. I got you, but there's got to be a societal group that comes in and says, okay, but sitting around eating Honey Nut Cheerios all day means you're a loser.
Yeah. Another one where how do we get from, that to Cheerios? But cool.
Well,
no,
I love a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios.
I mean, they're really good.
But that doesn't make you win.
Exactly.
That might be winning to you, but that's not winning to society.
Yeah.
But what we want to do is, in our determination to validate the feelings of every individual person, we're going to take away all of any measurable, and that's dangerous.
Yeah. All right, so I'm kind of liking this, current events little section. You want to do another one?
Sure,
Let's
I'd
do
love to
like
do
kind of
another
a pop culture ish one.
one.
So, I'm a big fan of Big Brother. I watch Big Brother. For those who are listening, Big Brother is a competition show where people win power, in the game, and people are nominated and voted out every week. The last person standing wins a certain amount of money, so people go home every week. And this season there is a black house guest, a black player named Taylor Hale. She's a dark-skinned woman, very successful, very seemingly. I mean, she won Miss Congeniality. She was Miss Michigan 2021, but for some reason, since the beginning of the game, she was ostracized, targeted by certain players due to microaggressions being spread around for simply just existing. I mean, I watched the show, just being herself. And so that led to bullying, constantly trying to get her voted out from week 1. So from your perspective, because it's been interesting, for viewers watching her deal with, these microaggressions as a person of color. And so from your perspective, it's a great picture of, our society and where we're at with internalized racism. And so how do people of color deal with that? And should they even be giving them the time of day to say, hey, like, to, I guess, address it, or, you know what I mean? So kind of where's your head at with that?
I mean, I think that we have American problems that they don't have in other parts of the world. And I think that we have to give ourselves a grain of salt. We have to judge all of this with a grain of salt. We have to give honor where honor is due and give blame where blame is due. And I think sometimes we can be really hard on ourselves. And I know this is coming from me as an African American person. It's like, we have to understand that what we're trying to do in America is pretty unique. Most people are living in a country where everybody is what they are. Most people in China are Chinese. Most people in Japan are Japanese. Most people in South Korea are South Korean. Most people in Ghana are Ghanaian. Most people in Nigeria are Nigerian. So, in America, we've got this whole mix of all of these different races, and we can point to racism, we can point to prejudice, and we can easily admit that America was founded as a racist nation, absolutely as racist as any nation, as racist as Nazi Germany. From our birth, we were a racist nation. And so from the founding of the country, just African Americans were brought here totally as cattle. And so the birth of America and the birth of the introduction of African Americans into the country was from a position of total inequality, was us being property. And so I think the impact that that's had on the opinion of African Americans is deep. It's long, it's far, it's wide. And you're right now, if you're watching this on Instagram Live or, on this YouTube live show, Beyond the Pulpit, you're looking at somebody right now that was a part of desegregation in the schools. Okay. Because I went to the first grade in 1974. I was born in 68. And so, I was bused to an all white school as a part of desegregation. So, yeah, just us being that segregated as a nation, okay, I talked about this piece of property that my great-grandfather purchased in 1902. He was the son of slaves, okay? It's quite amazing for him, but this is not my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. This is my great-grandfather. Yeah. This is just two generations.
Wasn't that long ago.
Not that long ago. I was born in 68. The Civil Rights Act was signed into law in the mid to late 60s. Within my lifetime, equality, and it's still something that we are growing towards. We have not yet reached the mountaintop. What Dr. King talked about, we're still not quite there. And I think that we have to understand that. I think one of the things that's amazing about your generation is that you have an expectation of equality. My generation does not. My father's generation was taught to tolerate diversity. Okay, boomers were taught to tolerate it. Try to understand it and tolerate it. Every now and then, some boomer will say the N-word. To this day, it's just the way they see the world. You can barely blame them. They were raised in segregation. They didn't go to school. Neither of the presidential candidates, neither Biden nor Trump, went to school with black people. So by the time they graduated from high school, anybody born in the 40s went to school with just white people.
Wow.
So we have to realize that they didn't grow up friends. This is not how it was. As tolerant as they may try to sound, the fact of the matter is that they were born into a segregated America. They were raised in a segregated America. By the time their personality was set, at that time, America was segregated. By the time they graduated from high school, America was segregated. It was oh yeah, I had a black friend I was in boarding school with. No, not for Biden, not for Trump. So, we have to realize that the people that are still running the country were born in a segregated America, and much of those notions are still there. And we still have time. It's going to take more time. Boomers were taught to be tolerant of it. My generation was taught to understand diversity, which is why I have such an understanding of it. Okay. Millennials were taught to expect diversity, and the Z generation is expect to celebrate diversity. And so the country is slowly changing and evolving. For me, I just think that it's a sign of whatever's happening on Big Brother is a sign of the fact that we still have a farther way to go. Yeah. I also think that there's another factor in it, that you as an African-American woman, and any African-American woman that's watching this, needs to take a cue from, and I think this is one way in which the African-American community can be significantly challenged by the LGBTQ community, is because they are on point when it comes to how they're depicted in the media. And I think that a part of what your girl is dealing with is she's dealing with the way that African-American women are depicted in the media.
Absolutely. Because the microaggressions are, she's aggressive, she's going to flip out, we just need to get her out early, and she's literally the sweetest human. So
there's been quite a bit of money that has been made by African-American women being depicted as mad and angry. Now, we can make an argument as to which affects which. Is it art copying real life, or is real life imitating art? We can make an argument for both, but I think that in no uncertain terms, I think art definitely is, at this point, media is so powerful that it definitely allows for people to feel free to express themselves in a way that they see depicted in the media. So if black women are depicted in the media as angry and violent and vengeful and manipulative, and then it creates a world in which women who watch that show feel like, yeah, that behavior must be okay because it's depicted so clearly in the media. And I think has a way of perpetuating, and I don't think there's any argument about that whatsoever. I think African-American women are more aggressive than ever. I think they're more physically violent than ever. I think they're more bruh than ever. There's definitely a masculinization of women, but certainly a masculinization of African-American women, but without a doubt. In their talk, in their language, when I was a young guy coming up, no girl was like, "What's up, bruh?" It just wasn't, bro. It just wasn't something that girls did. Girls didn't. I mean, a girl might swear and cuss you out if she was angry, like mad. A girl might cuss you out, but I seen videos of guys, getting down on their knees to ask girls to marry them. I've seen engagement videos where the girls are cussing, Like, get the F out of here, bro. Get the number. And I'm just kind of like, if I got down on my knees and asked a girl to marry me and she was like, get the F out of here, I'd be like, okay. I think I would get the F out of there because it's just, for me, it's kind of like, I think black women, I think women have to, again, this is the pressure for women to be like men in this chase for equality. And I think that women are being manipulated into being something that's less than what they're supposed to be. And I think there was something to be said for expecting women to have a certain amount of class and a certain amount of control and a certain amount of strength and a certain amount of depth. And for women to just be straight fighting in a McDonald's is, you know, it's almost the kind of thing that we're like, well, hey, dudes are out of control. You know what I'm saying? It was almost something that and I know, I guess feminists or whoever can look at it as, well, that's not fair. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry. I think it's a mistake to lower the standard for behavior for women. I don't think I think we need to hold a higher standard for men and not decide that it's got to be fair. Well, if guys can have a fight in a McDonald's parking lot, why can't women? Well, we held women to a higher standard. And it's disappointing to me that we've decided to lower it. And I think a part of the reason why we're lowering it is because media is making it seem like it's okay, because that sells. That's what sells. And I think that African-American women in particular are being depicted in an extremely negative way. And I think that it is having an impact on the way that African-American women are being seen. And I think it's having an impact on the way that African-American women think it's okay for them to behave. So right now, it's like the highest divorce rates. No one gets divorced like African-American women. They have the highest numbers. Okay. No one's as single as African-American women. Nobody. No one. So the percentage numbers are so high. They're so staggeringly high. What are we trying to act like? African-American women are just that much worse than every other woman. They're that much different from every other woman. No, they're not. No, they're not. It's just that they're depicted in an extremely negative way. And what's more is, since they're depicted in a very extremely negative way, it is perpetuating an idea that it's okay for them all to behave in a negative way. And now it's a self-fulfilling thing in which now their behavior is of such that you're just kind of like, women are just popping off and angry. And I saw a TikTok video where, you know, a woman was, she broke the guy's windows or something. He's like, I was talking to you, I was trying to surprise you. It's like, oh, wow. I'm sorry, bro, my bad. It's like, no. You know, there was a time when it was like this kind of behavior from a woman was not allowable. And it's just, there is a serious masculinization of the behavior of women that's unacceptable to me. And it's very unacceptable to me as an older man within the African-American culture. I think it drives us farther apart. I think it makes our relationships more difficult to have and maintain. I think real men don't want to be in a relationship with a woman that's like a dude. I don't think real guys want to have a conversation with a woman who talks like a man. And I don't think that it's going to lead to long-lasting, serious, no-joke relationships. I really don't. And the statistics bear that out.
Well, the good thing, just to wrap that, up, is, update on our Taylor Hale, is that she has 45% of the votes for E! News's best TV personality, best reality TV personality. So the great thing is we do have a dark-skinned black woman who is actually showing that the other side of what, should be shown. I mean, the house guests are now talking about how graceful she is. She's going and comforting the people who were bullying her at the beginning of the game. She now has a little guy that likes her, who's attracted. She's got a romance going on the show, and so it's it's one of those things where it's like, it's great that the issue at the beginning of what we were talking about, of how she was being talked about, has now turned and been able, to open the door for her to show that, hey.
I'm so glad we're able to have this conversation because I think
Yeah.
it's a good thing to have. Although, I'm sorry, but I think I've never seen the show.
Yeah.
But I feel like a show like Big Brother is contrived. And I think that this kind of thing is, I think,
It's not, but
whatever.
Yeah,
I just think
no.
that it's.
because CBS is getting flamed in the media.
Sure.
So it's.
Sure. And
really,
as a result of
really
it,
bad.
you know that they're on CBS. Exactly. There's almost no bad publicity right now. Right. It's like we're talking about Big Brother, and the fact that this happened made Big Brother get a level of attention.
Sure.
This show's been on forever.
Yeah.
And maybe people were just starting to be like, oh yeah, it's another episode of Big Brother. It's another season of Big Brother. And the fact that you got a sweet brown-skinned woman on there and everybody's treating her for no reason, microaggressions, and just talking bad about her and got issues with her. And now it's all better. Now somebody who, eats Cheerios is interested in her.
Cheerio.
It's so ridiculous. So, I'm glad. I think it's a good discussion.
Yeah.
But, I think that the writers of these shows, and they know what sells. They know what people want to do. They know what people want to watch. They know what sells. They know what gets a certain amount of attention.
Well, yeah. Ending on that note, this has been good. Had some interesting questions.
Hopefully
this was we wanted to bring some different kind of questions this episode. So
this was a no joke killer, serious. You want one more? You got one more question?
Oh, do we have one more? Oh, our producer is telling us we have one more.
Yeah, because it's 8:23. Let's
we have a little time.
We can do 90 minutes. Okay, so
what's
our
last 7
question? Minutes.
Oh, the NFL question. Yes, we did have an NFL question, which I think would be fun for you to ask.
All right, great.
All right, so where to go? Oh, sorry, guys. Oh, sorry. Okay, so the NFL starting up. Sorry, I don't do sports. The NFL starting up. What are your initial thoughts about this season as we head into this preseason play? And who's your favorite to win for this year?
First of all, I love the NFL. It's my favorite sport by far. I played football in high school.
Not basketball?
I played basketball and football.
But, your favorite sport is football?
By far.
Wow.
No, hands down.
Okay.
Really, the only thing I really watch in the NBA is the playoffs. I very rarely watch a regular season game. And there's so many games in the NBA, 82 games or whatever. It barely matters. Because you got 16 games, 17 game season in NFL. Every single solitary game matters. Okay? I love the NFL. It's my favorite sport by far. When the NFL season has got the NFL gives meaning to everything. It's like even my Sundays are just better and brighter and
you almost threw the TV away when you couldn't record all the NFL games.
Oh, listen. The NFL is I like the NFL so much. I like to watch teams that aren't even my teams. I just want to watch the Chargers play. I want to see, I want to see the Green Bay Packers. I want to see how Denver is going to be with Russell Wilson. I just want to see. I love the NFL. I love the intrigue. I just love it. It's amazing. It's great. I was born in Philly, but raised in Boston. And so the fact that I got a chance to see the Patriots have a dynasty was amazing to me. There was a time in my lifetime when the Patriots were a horrible team. And so the fact that I lived, who would have ever thought that I lived to see the day when somebody would be like, I'm tired of the Patriots winning, so at this point right now, if the Patriots ever win again, I don't think the Patriots are going to win for a while. But that's okay because I was alive when they were winning, and they were really great. I'll always kind of cheer for them, but I won't be that disappointed if they don't win again because I was alive when they won a bunch of Super Bowls, and that's amazing. I never thought that would happen. So who do I cheer for?
Yeah. Who do you want to win it all?
Who do I want to win it all? I think that, for me, I was a Patriots fan and a Brady fan, and I think that I still am a Brady fan. And not just because of his connection to the Patriots, but even just, you want to talk about somebody that's the ultimate connection of what we were talking about, the ultimate picture of gifting and discipline is Tom Brady. And even as he's getting older, his ability to determination to maintain his abilities. I'm always going to cheer for Tom Brady. I am. At the same time, so I cheer for the Patriots. I cheer for Tampa Bay because I cheer for Tom Brady. And I'm also interested in Denver. I want to see what Russell Wilson is going to do for the Broncos, and I'm interested in that team. And
Our producer is shaking his fist.
He's over there shaking his fist. So who do I think's going to win it all?
Well, who do you want? Not think, but I mean,
who would I like to see?
Who would you like to see win?
This NFL season is going to be so amazing. I don't even really
you
know.
don't even care.
I really don't know. I'm just down to watch. I'll be really happy to see who wins it all. Yeah. I really will. I think that, I wanted Tom Brady to win a Super Bowl without Belichick, and he did that. So I'm good at this point. If Tampa Bay wins again, I guess it'll be okay, but I don't care, Mm-hmm. There isn't anybody right now that I'm like, oh my God, I'd love to see them win a Super Bowl. There isn't anyone. Mm-hmm. I really don't care.
So you just love football so much.
I just love football so much. I can tell you who I think's going to win it all.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Listen, I really do think that I think the Buffalo Bills, I think if everybody stays healthy, I think the Buffalo Bills really, I think they just have a little bit of all of it.
Is Buffalo, New York?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Upstate New York, yes. Buffalo Bills. I really do think,
is.
I'd be surprised if they don't come out of the AFC. I really will. Mm-hmm. But I also think that I think the NFC is going to be just a total toss-up. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers came out of the AFC. That wouldn't surprise me. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Rams got back. And I wouldn't be surprised if they went back-to-back. It's very, very hard to go back-to-back, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But, I also think that it's the Raiders could be good. There's just so many teams that really could be good this year. It's going to be an awesome, awesome season. I'm really excited about it.
Nice.
And I'm going to record every game I can and watch every game I can.
So happy for
and
you.
And enjoy my life.
Enjoy your life.
It is the best sport
I think
by
that
far.
was the best question for us to end on, I think, actually.
No doubt.
You're just so smiley right now.
Oh, my gosh. I love the NFL. Oh, it's just so good.
Perfect.
It's so good. I watch teams that aren't even good. I don't care.
That's like Bachelor for me. It's true. I watch Bachelor's leads that I actually dislike them, and I'm like, I will absolutely watch every episode. Doesn't matter.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of.
This was fun.
This was season 1, episode 2 of Beyond the Pulpit. We'll be back here again next Monday night, 7 p.m. And feel free to send in your questions. And see you next time.
See you next time. Bye, guys.